Hi there, have you heard that Mercury is retrograde? Oh my gosh, everybody's freaking out. I am going to talk about in this video why you should not freak out because Mercury retrograde is a little more nuanced than everything going haywire. So please stay tuned. If you like the content in this video, please subscribe to my channel where I share every week videos on astrology, Ayurveda, and other health hacks to help you up-level your life. So let's talk about Mercury retrograde. What this basically means is that from our perspective here on Earth, Mercury appears to be moving backwards in the sky. And according to Vedic astrology, this actually is counted as a primary strength, not a weakness. What that means is that Mercury has a lot more oomph. It has a lot more power to deliver on its promise or on its results. So when we talk about Mercury retrograde from a Western astrology perspective, usually people are talking about things going haywire in the area of communications with their devices and in general, things just not being in a good flow. So from the Vedic perspective, it's a little bit different. First, we have to look at where Mercury is in the sky and what planets it's associated with. Is it exalted, meaning that it has another type of strength? Or is it debilitated? So Mercury is a dual planet. It is associated with communications, it's associated with diplomacy and facilitating things and making them happen, and of course devices and all the things that help us make those things happen. So when Mercury has a little bit more primary strength, why we might see things like our devices going haywire is just because there's a lot more energy moving through that communication field. And the way that I look at this is there's a real opportunity to start communicating with people more in person and to put our devices aside and really show up and try to do some good communication. Again, this really depends on where Mercury is in the sky. If Mercury is debilitated, for example, which happens when Mercury is in Pisces, then we want to be a little more cautious about our communication. It's a very internal place for Mercury to be. It's not going to be really easy for people to communicate when Mercury is retrograde in Pisces. However, if Mercury is exalted, which happens in Virgo, then it's going to be a little bit easier for us to communicate, and especially one-on-one. So like I said, it just really depends on where Mercury is located in the sky and whether or not that's going to facilitate communications and help things stay in a flow. So also with retrogression, we're talking about the planet moving backwards from our perspective and therefore going back over some territory in the sky that it's already been in. So what this means is we may need to revisit communications that we've already had with people or refine those communications. And this can be uncomfortable for people. Let's face it. Sometimes once we've communicated about something, we hope we don't have to do it again. So I think this is also what gives a Mercury retrograde a bad name, is because people don't like to go back and do some more refined communications. So this is a great time to do that. It's a great time to think about the last few months. What have we been thinking about and talking about, and who have we been communicating with? So I think there's a real opportunity here for us to put down our devices and really show up and communicate with the people around us with care and intention. Another thing to consider is if Mercury is in the same house as the sun. This is a special condition. It's called a yoga or a special combination that is good for communication. So if those two planets are together in a house, but not too close together, which is called combustion and actually weakens Mercury, this can really enable good communication. And this retrograde that we're experiencing right now, for example, Mercury is currently with Venus and Jupiter, which are the two benefics. And when Mercury is with those two planets, they have a good influence on Mercury because Mercury is quite influenceable. So if, for example, Mercury were with Saturn or Mars, that would make Mercury a little bit less able to deliver results. So whether or not it's retrograde, these are the conditions that we find that planet in. In summary, Mercury retrograde is a very complex thing. It involves a lot more than just the fact that Mercury is retrograde, and we should not all go run for the hills and hide during this time, although it's always good to have some introspection. I think it's just important to note that it's way more nuanced than whether or not Mercury is retrograde. You have where Mercury is in the sky, what planets it's associated with, and other things that affect whether or not it's going to be a good time to have good communication, to be in a flow, and to have success in whatever ventures you're attempting. With that added strength, there's also the potential for things to go the opposite direction, especially if we can't handle the energy, because if there's a huge influx of energy, if you think about into a plug, for example, then there's going to be a shock. So it's just about being able to calibrate ourselves and be able to move in the flow of more energy around communications, and possibly communications that are not so comfortable for us, because sometimes things can be brought to the surface that need to be discussed and worked through with other people during this time. So it's also important to look at your own personal chart and see if there are indications there for you personally, whether your Mercury is strong or weak. So you can find that out by talking to a Vedic astrologer like me. So you can connect with me at the link below and set up a time, and we can go over your personal chart and we can talk about how this retrograde will affect you. So I hope this was a helpful video. If you like this content, please subscribe to my channel. I post a video every single week on astrology, Ayurveda, and different health hacks to help you up-level your health. Thank you and have a great day.